All right, let's see. And we are live right here on the HODL Review. It is 8 a.m. Saturday morning as Hurricane Dorian is bearing down on the southeast coast of the United States. Amazing things, really amazing things. So today we are going to dedicate the stream to global mass adoption. Nothing to do with Dorian, nothing to do with the hurricane. But let me bounce over here, just open up, make sure that we're streaming okay, that there's no issues with the stream. And for those that are just bouncing into the live stream, why don't you hit the thumbs up on the way in. And then also, if you're new to the stream, go ahead and sub to the channel. Hit the bell notifier if you want to be notified every time we do go live. I know there's some issues with that within YouTube because as I'm following other people, I don't always get the notifications when people go live until it's already well into the stream. So Silhouette Park Farm all the way from Australia, and then we've got the XRP Minute coming all the way in from somewhere in southeast Florida. So what's going on? Late notification. I just hit the stream button about a minute ago. Let me know if the audio is coming in okay. It keeps redlining, and I'm not sure why it keeps redlining, but looks like everything should be going pretty well. If you're just bouncing in, also, if you could do me a favor and stream this out, that would be great. Or stream this out, tweet this out, that'd be great. We're going to touch on global mass adoption, and we're really going to discuss and make some big world moving decisions here in the next 30 minutes. So hang on tight because there's going to be a lot to talk about. I'm just going to tweet this out real quick on my own as well. So if you guys get that opportunity here, I'm going to say global mass adoption, and that's what we're tweeting, right? Global mass adoption. Let's discuss on the live stream right here. Live stream 8 a.m. Saturday morning, Saturday Eastern Standard Time. There we go, and it's going out. All right, hopefully I spelled it right. And so anyhow, yeah, there was some interesting comments that were going back and forth in on Twitter. I wanted to touch a little bit on it. I'm not really going to talk about it too much, but I do plan on rolling out a video on it. And it was interesting. I was watching Jungle's video that he posted yesterday evening, I believe it was. And it was funny because Jungle put up out a petition in response to another petition that some members within the XRP community had released, requesting that Ripple stop what they call dumping XRP onto the market, influencing the price point. So I'm going to talk about that more in depth on a separate video. I definitely had some opinion on that, but I thought it was interesting and amusing that Jungle came out and actually issued a counter petition stating, yes, Ripple, please keep investing, and we need to petition to make sure that Ripple does keep investing in this space. But we'll discuss that on a video because it's a topic of itself with some very clear opinion that I have on that. So let's get into this because there are a number of things that are happening on a regular basis within this space, within digital assets, within cryptocurrency, whatever you might want to call it. But I think it's really important. So, but hang on a second. Let me just say hello to a few more people that are bouncing into the stream. It looks like there's always some new names. It's hard to tell if they're new names or if they've been in before. But we've got Peter Corbett bouncing in here. Anders. Let's see, Leo Bandera, I think I've seen you in here before as well. But David D put up an interesting comment here. Let's see what it says. You always need to put a token symbol in your title. preferably XRP. Many of us search XRP and latest hour. All right, good point. David D, I will make a point of that. It's, and really and reach out to the community at large based on how people are searching. Also, if I always try to tweet it out ahead of time, and for those that can tweet it out as we're talking, that'd be great as well. Jeff Rome, welcome. So, all right. So here's what we need to look at. We talk about mass adoption, global adoption in general, and what are some of the key points that we want to look to when we're discussing or even thinking about cryptocurrency moving into a position of global mass adoption. When will it happen? How will it happen? And how do we know that it's happening? And I think first and foremost, when we see the movement within the banking space, within the financial institution space, as well as within government, and we're starting to see that happening on a more regular interval. It's not just coming out of, let's say, RippleNet or Ripple, or just coming out of the United States, because as we know, within the U.S. we have really seen a slowdown of the presenting any form of regulatory clarity. The SEC is getting involved at different levels in terms of going after and really select companies to where they deem them in breach of the securities law. We saw that most recently. There's some, relatively unrecognized companies, some that are being held, for actual more illegal affairs. But we saw what happened with Kick with their KIN token, and they're fighting back against the SEC, and I think that's really maybe one of the bigger cases that are ongoing right now in the U.S. Obviously, we need to see the U.S. finally take a position on the digital asset space. They need to take a position mainly because we're seeing more and more companies. They're either fleeing to more crypto-friendly countries, or they're just opening in cryptocurrency-friendly countries. And another, perfect example, when we went back and we looked at the hearings over Libra, one of the big questions coming from the senators or the congressmen was, why are you opening in Switzerland? Why not in the U.S.? Now, their point was, when they were asking that question, we talked about this over Libra, but the point there was, why Switzerland? And it was obvious. The congressman knew that it's more cryptocurrency friendly, that there's no regulatory clarity in the United States. So if that's the why, then what can the United States do to make amends or change that to make sure that we're keeping companies in the United States for that development? Now, obviously, there's people here from other parts of the world, so you might say, hey, that's crazy. We would rather have those companies opening in our own countries, not just in the United States. But as we sit here in the United States, we have to look at it from that perspective as well. And the fact that, for many years now, really since the software computer boom, internet craze boom, and all of that, much of the lead has been really emphasized in and around the United States, primarily, obviously, California. But as we know, there's many other companies, around the United States, and obviously, there's been great participation from all over the world. You can't discount that at all. But it is important that all aspects, all areas of the world are participating in digital asset to bring about this global mass adoption. And we're starting to see that the U.S. is one of those outliers at this point. So let's leave it at that. Now, when we look at it from that, how is it then that other countries are rapidly moving into embracing digital asset? Now, there's one country that I really see right now as we sit as a complete game changer, setting precedent regardless of who the country is or which country it is, it sets precedent overall for mass adoption. And so let's start with the first country that is really making some game-changing changes and adoption within their country, and that's Portugal. Now, if we look at what Portugal just did, and it's interesting too, because the news came out 2 days ago, so it came out on Thursday. Now, it came out on Yahoo Finance first before I saw it anywhere else, which it's interesting. You're beginning to see Main Street adoption, Main Street news, whether it's Yahoo or wherever. But let's focus on the fact that it is Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance is a decent platform for all financial, research, and Yahoo itself might not be the greatest platform anymore, but Yahoo Finance I love using it. So anyhow, so they make this announcement. Portugal's tax authority says crypto trading and payments are tax free. That's game changing. That changes the rules of the game, not just for Portugal, but for other countries within Europe, setting that precedent right now for free crypto trading. Now, as the U.S. looks in and they're looking and seeking out regulatory clarity, and they're saying, hey, what can we do to make sure that we're keeping our companies in the United States? Well, now we have to look at Portugal and say, whoa, wait a minute. It's free. So for every one of these transactions, every realized gain, when you move from XRP to Bitcoin to Litecoin, whatever it is, if you have a realized gain, that's a taxable event in the United States. And, I can't speak for other countries. However, Portugal is now free. So what do you think people are going to do, regardless of where they are in the world? You're a company and you say, hey, I'm going to be moving digital asset back and forth. I don't want that to be a taxable event. I don't want to pay value-added tax on it. Every time I trade, I want to make sure that it's free. Now, they took it a step further, and this is what's mind-blowing. And this, so is it enough already, that there's no value-added tax, so there's no, it's that in of itself is impressive. The next step is that they announced that there's no income tax on cryptocurrency earnings in the country. So if you take away any of the transactional tax, then you take away income tax earnings from digital asset. Where do you think all the miners are going to go if they can, obviously the one obstacle there is going to be power, but where are companies going to go? Is, Portugal is making a really brilliant decision here, as we've seen other countries around the world that are saying, hey, you know what? The big countries in the West are slow to act. The big countries in the East are still stumbling over themselves. A country like Portugal, not a big player in the finance space right now. Maybe they struggle a little bit economically. They don't really have much of an export. But here you go. Let's start attracting digital asset companies around Europe. Bring them into Portugal. So that is very, very important. And again, it's game changing, mainly because it's also setting a precedent. And that precedent, again, for Europe and Asia and the United States is we've made a decision on digital asset, and this is what it is, so we're not going to charge tax. There's not going to be a realized gain tax. There's no VAT. There's no income tax. So that's number one game change in the world. Now, again, we're looking for mass adoption. The fact that I'm reading this on Yahoo Finance means that it's opening up to Main Street. I think that's really important also. So when we're identifying Main Street, having immediate access to developments within the digital asset space, what do you think people are going to say, on Main Street, America or Main Street Europe, wherever, and they're reading Yahoo Finance and they see this? Obviously, the wheels start turning because they're hearing digital asset and they're hearing Bitcoin, popping up on a regular basis, and at the same time, you're starting to see a lot of news all over the place about this recession, and there's recession warnings. Obviously, many, when they start talking about, recessions, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the more the media keeps pushing this narrative of a recession, it can very well turn into a recession, regardless of whether or not the economy is in position for a recession or not. They're going to push it that way. And so as individuals are sitting there and you're saying, wow, the banks and all of this, but look what's going on in the digital asset space. There's millions upon millions upon millions of dollars moving around the digital asset space, and maybe that's where we need to go. So that's key. Let me just look down here. I see you guys have got some interesting feedback and comments, and Chip did bring up that Portugal is big into tech, so that's obviously a big attractor. Important. Peter, it's the same in the Netherlands already. Yeah, Netherlands, France, and the next location where we've already seen a lot of development in that area, and we just brought it up regarding Libra, deciding to move. Where are they moving to? They're moving to Switzerland. And so here's another, big move. And when we talk about regulatory clarity, we already know that Switzerland has made some big changes from a government perspective as it reflects towards cryptocurrency and blockchain companies. Now, Switzerland just recently issued a regulator license for 2 new blockchain companies. It was reported on CoinDesk. I wanted to dig in and look a little bit further because a lot of the articles, they don't really get into, who is the company, or what is the company, so they talked about it a little bit, and this regulatory clarity is so key. So here we have Portugal. Peter brings up Netherlands. We know that France has made some big advancements in the digital asset space, and we know Switzerland has made some big advancements in the digital asset space. So here's the U.S. now looking in, and they're saying, whoa, wait a minute, we're definitely losing track. We obviously know what's going on over in Japan. Japan is just moving at a fast clip. David D brings up Malta. Yeah, Malta, another big one. And I believe that's where Binance has their headquarters now, in Malta. So you have all these, really some key areas of development right now. And that's it. It's really amazing. Mr. BXRP, yeah, the self-fulfilling prophecy of recession. How do you like that? We'll talk about that first thing in the morning. So here we go. So in Switzerland, Swiss regulator license, 2 new blockchain companies, really moving everything in this direction for all the key legal requirements to make. And again, here's Switzerland now popping up. And it really a huge competitive advantage already, I guess, because this is the epicenter of the global banking world, and has been for many, many years. But here we have 2 primary companies getting licensed, and here it states that it is the first banking and security license that they've issued to 2 companies. This is as CoinDesk had reported this. They had to fulfill a few requirements, but it's important to get these broker-dealer license and their blockchain companies. And one of the things that we talk a lot about is the blurring of the lines between the digital asset space, the blockchain banking space, and the traditional banking space. Traditional banks are trying to move over and migrate into this, blockchain digital asset banking. But as they're trying to make this migration, which banks move really, really slowly in decisions. And so on the other side of it, we have the digital asset exchanges, which are printing money. I mean, it's mind-boggling how much money these guys are printing in such a short period of time. If you look at Binance, if you look at Coinbase, if you look at Uphold, and you start looking at some of these Gemini, and you look around the world, Bitstamp, and Bitstamp was recently acquired, but you look around and you see what they're up to, what they're doing, and Binance is out there buying up other technologies, and they're growing at this fast clip. How does a bank keep up with that? Pace of growth? They simply can't do it, because here's the bank, focused in on, everything that banking has done for hundreds of years. Now they're going to try to make this big migration, and they want to try to change their methodology and change their mindset, and change all their internal workings to move into this digital asset space. And as we know, it's not that easy for them to do it on their own. And so this is where you see, the payment space. So the payment space is the first mechanism or first method or way for them to start dipping their toe into the water for digital banking or digital asset banking. But is it enough? Is it enough to keep them, in the lead or kind of in charge as we see the digital asset banking space starting to develop around them? It's going to be interesting, because I don't see anywhere in the near future that banks are going to go away. It's just merely a transition into different types of banking, and different banks are going to come up and replace traditional banks. It's happened forever, and it's going to continue happening, where we're going to see buyouts, and things are going to change and be adopted, and etc. So the question here is then, are the big banks going to buy out the technology, or will this technology that's quickly adopting banking type transaction, are those big exchanges in the digital asset space going to start gobbling up the banks, the brick and mortar banks? And that's kind of where we're sitting right now. It's kind of in this in flux, and I see it right now. It could go either way, which is really interesting. It can either go where the big brick and mortar banks can start buying up the smaller tech to try to compete, but I don't think anybody knows right now. But what we are seeing is that, companies like Signum, Sygnum, which is based out of Switzerland, that recently received the permission or the regulation for opening up into the banking, getting their broker dealer license for Switzerland, is a big deal, because here it is, Signum, and I'm not sharing it. I'm afraid to switch over. I still need to test. I was having some technical issues with OBS. Every time I switch over to another view, it cuts the stream out. So still need. I don't want to rock the boat right now, but anyhow. So Signum, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Let's go with Signum. Is the world's first digital asset bank. Interesting. So here it's founded on Swiss and Singapore heritage, and it's operating globally. So it's amazing. So here we go. They're claiming to be the first, but we're starting to see, development everywhere, all around the world. So here you have B2B banking. They're offering custody. They have a brokerage. They have tokenization. They have asset management. They're issuing credit. So it's really impressive to see the scope of what they can do. So we see, in the credit space, the loaning space, we're seeing organizations like Celsius or MyCred. Those guys are popping up. But it's happening more and more frequently all over the world. So here is Signum Lombard, their loan products. Here it says, will allow you to increase fiat liquidity against digital asset, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. So they're getting into the lending space. Now, right now, there really is no credit in the digital asset space, which is interesting. So the only credit is when you put up collateral against what you're going to borrow in fiat. So let me just quickly look over here. We're coming up on the 30 minutes, and I'm pretty much through it. So this is good. We have a little bit more to talk about. Let's see, David D. Yeah, great job on cred. Appreciate that. I wish you would have gone further and discussed the process. staking 10K LBA token, interest rates offered with and without staking. I think that's a great idea. I do plan on going back. I'm going to get back into Nexo. All of these sites, these lending sites, are starting to make minor changes within. And it was interesting. I had a question yesterday. Someone had asked me, what my thoughts of BitTrue were, and we were tweeting back and forth on BitTrue. And the one thing that I look for on all these platforms is to make sure that they're backed up, that there's some sort of a third-party insurance mechanism in place. Because if you're going to trust somebody with your digital asset, with your fiat currency, with whatever it might be, with your investment, you want to make sure that there's a third-party insurance provider and a reputable third-party insurance provider, and they have multiple levels of protection and redundancies built in, so that if anything, God forbid, did happen to them, that they're not just going to turn to their big creditors and pay them off first and say, sorry, we don't have anything left. That there are mechanisms in place to make sure that they are that they're protected. So Signum is the first. So again, services, tokenization. I think this is interesting. Manage your securities and raise capital more effectively by tokenizing existing assets. So they're really getting into this game. Now the second group is SEBA, S-E-B-A. And here it says the bank for the new economy. So again, we're in Switzerland, 2 banks, digital asset banks, getting licensed for banking in Switzerland, and the first digital asset. So here we are, now we're seeing banks with the sole purpose of banking. That's their sole focus and vision. It's not even just a blending. It's not a blurring of the lines. It's we're opening specifically to have a digital asset bank. That's it. So here we have SEBA is building a licensed and supervised Swiss bank, combining the new financial world of digital assets with traditional banking. You can't say it any clearer than that. And again, so we have game-changing events that are occurring on a regular basis. This is global mass adoption. When you have 2 banks, 2 organizations that get licensed from Switzerland to open up digital asset banks, things are changing. You have a country like Portugal that's embracing digital assets and making these statements that they will not tax digital asset transaction, or there will be no income tax on digital asset. Game changing. If you have crypto friendly regulation coming out of countries like Malta, in France, in the Netherlands, in Japan, wherever it might be, and you're starting to see more and more momentum in the space, you're starting to see the wheels start churning. Again, we're still in the infancy phase. We're still in this crawling phase. So as the technologies develop, I believe that, at this point, we're moving from the crawling stage and we're getting into the toddler stage where they're getting ready to walk up, stand up and start walking. They stand up, they fall over. They stand up, they fall over. We're seeing the fluctuations in the market, in the crypto market, and you're seeing wild swings. The one area you're not seeing these major wild swings, in price point. Obviously, the higher the price goes up, the smaller percentage means a bigger dollar movement. However, the development in the space, there's no wild swings in development. You're seeing it in the valuation of the digital asset. Development is full steam ahead. So we're not seeing, oh, it's great, no, it's not. Oh, it's great, no, it's not. We're not seeing governments really waffling right now back and forth, the ones that are getting into it. So this is game-changing. Global mass adoption is 100% on its way based on what we're seeing. You wouldn't see this kind of investment in the space. You just have to, look and read and understand what's being presented to us and see that this is the future. And it's interesting because Crypto Eddie talked about it, what they're doing with SBI, and SBI is recently opening up and giving a dividend, paying out dividend to their customers that own X amount of stock share in SBI. They're paying out some dividend in XRP. And I think she mentioned, I was listening to her this morning, she had mentioned 30 XRP per for that dividend. I believe they're giving other dividend as well, but that's part of the dividend. That's amazing. You know, they're putting this into all the hands of their stockholders to start understanding digital asset. That's also, you know, really, it's a game changer. So here's a bank distributing now, a bank distributing XRP. So forget about the FUD from that ridiculous petition that was sent out on telling Ripple not to, what they call dump in the market, because you need more and more real world use cases actually using the product. You know, so if you're not using the product and everybody's hoarding the product, then what good is the product? It makes no sense. And so in order for this space to develop and move forward, you need to have use. You have to have use cases. You need to have banks. So for all those individuals out there that think that we can move away from banks and that somehow magically the digital asset space is going to get rid of banks, and while they talk about getting rid of banks, they're still talking about digital asset exchanges and investing in like Celsius. You know, Celsius, and I don't want to harp on this, you know, and so... But Celsius, their big statement, you know, getting rid of banks. You know, you're not getting rid of banks. You're the new bank, you know, and your business model isn't going to work long term when you're paying out 80% of all your incoming revenue in, you know, you're paying it out to your customers. It doesn't work that way. You know, you have to look at, you know, for me, if I'm going to invest in a bank, and especially in the digital asset space, what excites me is that you have less fluff, you have less people involved, you have less money going out to things that you don't need. Plus, it's transparent, you know, so you're also able to monitor and you can see where the profits are going or not going when you put these into the blockchain. Now, the thing is, when you have a bank like a SEBA or a Cigna, you know, so you're starting, or what is it? What was the other one? Signum. You know, so it's so vitally important, but you're cutting out all this fat, you know, and it's the fat that consumes all the money in the bank, and then the payments that go out to the CEOs, and that's an issue everywhere where, you know, you have these, you know, golden parachutes for CEOs, regardless of the business fails or not. If they do good or they do bad, they walk away with tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars in golden parachutes, even though they destroyed the company, you know, so this is the transition. This is where we're moving, where there's more transparency, and you are able to, because you're cutting out a lot of this fluff manpower that's not needed in the banking space, and you're able to move those same profits back to the people. Banks, you're incorporating the bank into the new century of banking, you know, which is the new technology of banking, which is the digital asset space. So that's the blurring and the melding of traditional banking with the digital asset banking. I think this is the most exciting time ever. I think this really has the potential of being more game changing than what the internet brought us. The internet was amazing. The internet got us to this point. But when you're changing finance and you're changing the mechanism of how people work in the world, and you're cutting out, and it just unbelievable. I think this is definitely game changing. We're going to see a lot more things in the near future. So let me just turn to the stream real quick, see what we've got here. Want to let you guys know that not sure what's going to happen here over the next couple days with Dorian. We will, if we can, not sure if we'll be able to, try to get on again on Sunday evening for 8:30 to do another trivia night. It seems to be a lot of fun. We'll do trivia with Bubba, 8:30 on Sunday. And also stay tuned for OTC. We will be dropping some news on the official launch of OTC due to the storm here and Labor Day that was supposed to be this weekend. We decided to postpone the launch of OTC. And if you guys have been following Chip with his tweets, obviously he's been dropping a lot of hints on the upcoming OTC, and we talked a little bit about it on Rain's show yesterday as well. So really good to see everybody that popped in, that everybody that participated today. We'll definitely make sure that we try to stay safe over here on this end. And let me just look here. David D, Bitrue and Power Pig. I know it's a little bit of an old comment, but has been pushing ambassadors. Who I'm happy for. However, I believe they have a responsibility to let subscribers know they are compensated. You know what, David D? That's an awesome comment, and that would be a really good topic of conversation. I'm not really in favor of this concept of an ambassador, and I do believe exactly what you say. They do have a responsibility. They need to step up. Anyone who is claiming to be an ambassador for Bitrue, you need to step forward. You need to make a clear statement that you are being paid by Bitrue, whatever that might be, however it might happen, however you're being compensated. That is critical. Now, if you bring in a sponsor to your channel, that's different. Because you're specifically stating this segment is sponsored by XYZ. Sponsor means they've paid you. It's very clear. If you look at, many of the YouTubers out there, and Ivan on Tech, I like watching him. He develops, a lot of content, and he brings in great sponsors. It's a good relationship. The sponsor is paying for presence on your channel, and in turn, you're getting compensated. So it's an obvious relationship. The ambassador relationship, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I do believe that anyone who is running around claiming to be an ambassador, you need to be transparent. You need to let people know that you're being compensated. And if you're going to talk about Bitrue and promote Bitrue, you're putting everybody in a very difficult position because of the fact that you're really pushing them, and you're not really showing any form of discretion, I should say, and then if we're going to discuss, if you want to discuss Coinbase or any of the others, you might negatively discuss an Uphold or a Coinbase, or you might negatively discuss a Celsius or a MyCred or whatever it might be, not because of negative, attributes to their program, but mainly because subconsciously you're going to promote what you're an ambassador for. Ambassador, in many intent, can also show that you're employed by, or again, you're being, there's some form of compensation. So I'm glad you brought that up. I had a long conversation with someone about that yesterday. It's definitely been sticking in the back of my head as well. I'm glad that you brought that up, but they definitely have to be transparent, so, it just brings a whole different level of responsibility, being an ambassador. And that's something else that you might want to consider, is that if you are an ambassador, make sure that your legal document that you signed as being an ambassador. I'm not an attorney, but what I was going to say is make sure you have that looked at by an attorney. And make sure that you're protecting yourself, because if anything happens to Bitrue and anything happens to Bitrue's customers, you want to make sure that you're protecting your ass, that you're not held in any way, shape, or form responsible for the actions of Bitrue. So I'm not saying that it will happen, but if it ever did happen, I know that me personally, I would want to make sure that I read the small print to see what my liability would be if anything ever did happen by Bitrue, with Bitrue, and there was ever legal action taken against Bitrue, and now all of a sudden they call ambassadors in to the legal case. Just make sure that that you have that looked at, by an attorney, and protect yourself. There's some really great people in the community that are now, working or representing as ambassadors, and that would be my point of advice, is definitely make sure that you're protecting yourself, from liability if anything ever did happen to Bitrue. So I think that's really important. Let me see. I'm just looking down some of the comments here, but anyhow, really appreciate blockchain main, and want to run around calling myself an ambassador too. Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? So XRP Banana is over in the pub. That's awesome, man. I have to reach out to you sometime, and might be able to run into you in November. So let me see here. I just wanted this is good stuff. DNI, good point. People What? Die everyone? I don't understand that. Sue. There we go. People sue everyone. Got to protect yourself. David D. An exchange was just sued for misleading investors. Can ambassadors be considered an agent of an exchange while not being an advisor or giving legal advice? Thoughts. Those are my thoughts exactly, David D. And those would be thoughts to give to an attorney. And if you're going to be an ambassador, bring that to an attorney. Ask him that question and make sure that whatever you do, that you're protecting yourself. So those are my 2 cents, and that's why at this point you're not going to see me running around with being an ambassador for anyone. Now, attracting a sponsor to the show, that's a completely different arrangement, and something that allows you to bring in monetary. You can monetize your channel through a sponsor and invest more in developing your channel to make it better and get the word out to more people around the world. One thing I can say for content creators, and that's content creators, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Periscope doing videos, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, I don't care. If you're able to get your word out, if it's print, it doesn't matter. We're right around the corner from mass adoption, and Main Street is going to want to hear from you. So they're going to want to hear those that have been involved, early on in the space. It's not just about the reporter that's now learning about it and trying to write an article about something. It's about people that are in this space that have really understood this space from day one, or at least been in the thick of things during the ups and downs and the difficult times. You think a year, 2 years out, more and more Main Street's going to be involved. Then they're going to be on YouTube. They're going to be on blogs. They're going to be on Twitter trying to learn what they can learn. And this is the best source of information that we can provide, and keep developing ourselves. So it's awesome. David D, great stream and perspective. Love your stream. Still wished your weeknight shows better aligned with European time zone. Man, David, I'll do my best with that. That would make an afternoon show. If I had the right sponsors and I could do shows in the afternoon and I didn't have to work all day, that would be awesome. I would do it for sure, without a doubt. I do want to let everybody know that I'm going to start putting out short videos. I think that's going to make a big impact. It's hard to go back and watch a 1-hour stream, a 30-minute stream, a 45-minute stream. I know it's difficult for me to do that, but I am committing to you guys and everybody out there that follows my channel to go back to doing those 7-8 minute videos, so you can just listen to it in a clip. And when we roll out OTC, you're going to see a big integration of a lot of great things happening with there as well. So want to thank everybody for participating this morning, taking your time out, whether you're in the pub over in Europe or in Australia or in the United States, just waking up. Appreciate you all. Look forward to seeing you on the next stream. Make sure you check out tomorrow night, 8:30. As long as there's no hurricane over here yet, we'll be doing trivia night with Bubba, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys then. So have an amazing day.